start first by clearing some things up from the first part of the presentation, some mistakes that we saw, or that I saw rather, come up in a lot of your answers, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. Because obviously this stuff's going to come up in some form of a quiz or test down the road, so I want to make sure everybody's on the same page. I did reach out to most of you that made these mistakes via Google Classroom comments. If I didn't, I apologize, but just double check your stuff, make sure you're good. So one of the first things is a lot of people thought that the easiest way to become a U.S. citizen is through marriage. That is not the case. The easiest way to become a U.S. citizen is being born here, and believe it or not, being born here is easier than the marriage path. The marriage path is not as easy as it used to be. Like I mentioned, it used to be somebody might pay you, some money to marry them, and then they get their green card and then they bolt. It's not the case anymore. There's all kinds of loopholes and red tape that you have to go through to do this. So being married or marrying somebody that's a citizen is not the easiest way. Being born in the USA is the easiest way. That being said, a lot of people also put down Alaska and Hawaii as a place that you can be born in to be a citizen. And while that is technically correct, Alaska and Hawaii, yes, you can be born there and be a citizen, but that's because they are part of the USA. What that question was looking for was places that are not part of the USA, not one of the 50 states that you could be born in and be a citizen. So Alaska and Hawaii are part of the USA, so that's why we were looking for a different answer there. Also, a lot of people put Cuba as a place where you were guaranteed citizenship. That's not it either. Even with this old wet foot, dry foot policy, it was very risky. You needed to leave Cuba, which you were not allowed to do legally. You had to escape. And if you made it, then you could stay. Here's the deal. For those of us that don't remember, Cuba is about 90 miles from Florida. So what Cubans used to do is they would make some sort of raft out of an old, board, or sometimes they'd take an old piece of a car and they would try to basically float from Cuba to Florida. And if you know anything about that part of the world, it's, open sea and, sharks and other things that can get you. So that wet foot, dry foot was very, very risky. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm just going to leave Cuba, go to the USA, good. No, these people would die out in the ocean, or they would get picked up by the Coast Guard and get sent back to Cuba, and then they would be treated as criminals. Also, Cuba is still currently a communist state, although things are getting better. Now, because the wet foot, dry foot thing is no longer in effect, if a Cuban person wanted to be a resident of the United States, they would still have to follow normal residency protocol, which is what we talked about in the last video, by applying and trying to get their green card. So I just wanted to clear that up before we moved on. Now, to the new stuff. The next step after becoming a resident, getting your green card, is you can, if you choose, you don't have to, if you choose, you can become a naturalized citizen. So we're going to talk a little bit about that process right now. First of all, you have to be a legal resident first, meaning you have to go through the green card process. You can't become a citizen without first getting a green card if you're following this process. You have to meet certain eligibility requirements, and you have to complete the naturalization process, which will be explained in the link here. I'm going to post this separate on the assignment, but I'll show this to you right now. So if we look at what this is essentially a chart, so to speak, of how to become a citizen. It gives you all the steps that you do to become a naturalized citizen. What I'm going to have you do is I'm going to give you part of your question sheet is going to be following this. So I'm not going to go through every single little step here with you right now because you have access to this. It is going to be in front of you. So you're going to look at that on your own. And then if there's any questions, we can address those later. So you get your green card, you go through this naturalization process, and you can become a U.S. citizen. Now, what does that mean? Here's the differences. Again, these are two separate parts of being legal. Legal residents, once they get their green card, can work in the United States. They have to maintain legal residence in the U.S., meaning you have to live in the country. If you don't live in the country, you can lose your green card. That's something that you're going to see in that chart. You can pay taxes, congratulations, and you can vote in local and state elections. So you can vote for the mayor. All right, you can vote for people in this the governor, stuff like that, but you cannot, as a resident, vote for federal positions such as the president. You cannot hold public office. All right, as a green card holder, you can't be an elected public official. You can't be the mayor. You can't be the governor, and you definitely cannot be the president. If you become a naturalized citizen, again, remember, that means you weren't born here, but you went through all the steps and can legally be here as a citizen. You can work, just like a resident. You can travel freely with no restraints. You can go anywhere in the world and stay there as long as you like, as long as you don't renounce your citizenship. And you also get to pay taxes. Congratulations. And you can vote in anything you want, and you can hold certain public offices. People who are naturalized citizens, people who aren't born in the country but go through the citizenship process, can be a lot of different things when it comes to politics. They can be mayors and governors and things like that. Think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's an actor, right, in the Terminator movies. He ran for governor of California and was the governor of California for a long time. Why am I bringing this up? Arnold Schwarzenegger is a naturalized citizen. He was born in Austria. He came to the United States to work on films. So he became a resident, got a citizenship, and went through this whole process and then became governor of California. Arnold Schwarzenegger could never be president because he was not born here, which brings me to this. Here's what running for president means. Here's why it's different. No person except a natural born citizen, somebody born in the country, or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to the office of president. Neither shall any person be eligible for that office who shall not have attained the age of 35 years and been 14 years a resident within the United States. What this means is you have to be born in the United States, you have to be at least 35 years of age, and you have to live in the country for at least 14 years before running for president. The reason that this is so is the country tries to avoid having people with different ideals other than American ideals running for president. So if you're born in this country and you live in, let's say, I don't know, Finland your whole life, and then you come back at 35 years of age and try to run for president, you can't because you didn't live here for those 14 years. The way that you think might not be good for what we think the American people deserve. It's a complicated thing, but that's the gist of it. Those three things, being born here, being 35 or older, and living in the country for 14 years or more, are the only things that allow you to run for president. If you don't fit that criteria, you can't do it. So that's going to bring us to the end of this quick little section. Again, follow along. Make sure you're filling your stuff out. Make sure you click on that link and answer the questions about the process. We'll discuss those a little further as we go. And then next time we talk, we'll be talking about that process a little more in depth. And then continuing forward, we'll be talking about the amnesty program and what that was that we saw in the Sweet 15 movie.